Welcome to Netflix, your quick stop for movie recaps. Get all the highlights and mind-blowing twists in just minutes. Our movie starts with Hanno and his wife, Quraisha, who are living a simple life in the city of Numidia. Everything was going well for them until they heard the drums of war. They quickly rushed to prepare and put on their battle gear. Afterward, they headed toward the marketplace, where the leader of Numidia had gathered all his soldiers. He informed them that the Roman army was coming to take their land and enslave them, and that it was more honorable to die defending their land than to live as slaves. The soldiers agreed with his words and immediately moved toward the city walls to prepare and defend their land. As they stood ready, they saw the Roman army's ships approaching, led by General Acacius, who was rallying his troops, telling them that if they conquered Numidia, they would have seized the last free city in Africa. However, as they approached the city walls, they were surprised by fire catapults raining down on them, destroying many of their ships. General Acacius ordered his men to respond with fire catapults and arrows, killing a significant number of Numidian soldiers in their initial attack. A fierce battle ensued until the Roman ships reached the city walls. At that point, they lowered their bridges, and the Roman army, led by General Acacius, launched their assault. Acacius proved to be a skilled warrior, taking down anyone in his path. Despite seeing the Roman army gaining control, Hanno continued to fight with his sword. Quraisha, his wife, was one of the archers, skillfully taking down Roman soldiers one by one. Acacius noticed her and ordered his men to kill her immediately. They struck her with an arrow, and Hanno watched in shock as she fell from the wall, lifeless. While he was still in shock, a Roman soldier attacked him from behind, striking him on the head and causing him to fall into the sea. When Hanno regained consciousness, he found that the Roman army had taken full control of the city. The bodies of his fellow townspeople surrounded him, including his wife's. He approached her to bid her farewell, but Roman soldiers captured him and took him as a prisoner. General Acacius ordered his men to gather all the war dead and burn them as a sign of respect. He also commanded that all those in the castle be taken as captives to Rome. Hanno, filled with rage, swore to take revenge on Acacius. The Romans branded every captive with a slavery mark and loaded them onto ships. During the journey, Hanno noticed the leader of Numidia among the captives, gravely injured. Hanno decided to treat him, and the leader thanked him, recalling how he had always been there for them. He reminisced about the past, when he found Hanno as a lost child in the desert, took him in, raised him, and taught him all the arts of combat. Hanno remembered his childhood, playing with his friends in the village, until one day, Roman soldiers attacked. He ran to his mother, who bid him farewell, urging him to flee quickly and avoid being seen by the soldiers. He then found the leader of Numidia, who took him to the castle and raised him. The next day, the Roman army arrived in Rome with a grand and lavish procession. The people of Rome celebrated their great victory, and Acacius was welcomed as a hero. He met with the rulers of the state, the brothers Gida and Kragel, who were proud of his victory. They crowned him and informed him of a grand celebration in his honor. However, Acacius declined, saying he needed rest from the war and wanted to spend time with his family. Gida, angered by his refusal, placed a sword to his neck and told him that there were many more wars ahead and that he would not get a break until he conquered all of Persia and India. Acacius reluctantly agreed to the emperor's orders and kissed his hand. Meanwhile, Hanno and the other captives were taken to the gladiator arena to entertain the people of Rome, who loved blood and death. The arena was managed by a slave trader named Macrinus of African descent. Soldiers brought Hanno and his men into the arena, where they were immediately attacked by savage monkeys. The leader of Numidia surrendered, allowing the monkeys to kill him. Hanno rushed to him and struck the monkey that was attacking him. The monkey became enraged and attacked Hanno, but Hanno grabbed it and choked it with the chains on his hands, killing it in a fit of rage. Macrinus, impressed by Hanno's strength, stopped the fight before losing his new gladiator. The next day, Macrinus summoned Hanno and the other fighters. A guard named Vigo informed them that the arena was a place where slaves could earn their freedom and become heroes if they won all their matches. He then took them to Macrinus, who chose Hanno as his fighter, impressed by his performance in the previous battle. Macrinus paired Hanno with his gladiator Vigo, challenging challenging him to prove his skills against humans. Vigo attacked Hanno, landing a punch that knocked him to the ground. However, Hanno gathered his strength, fought back, and defeated Vigo. Macrinus, thrilled by Hanno's prowess, praised his strength and told him he needed a gladiator filled with rage to win all his battles. Hanno agreed to fight for him on the condition that he would deliver General Acacius to him. Macrinus promised to fulfill his wish, saying he would serve Acacius's head on a silver platter if Hanno won all his matches. He instructed Hanno to prepare for his first battle, assuring him that victory would bring him closer to avenging Acacius. Meanwhile, General Acacius was with his wife, Lucilla, whom he had married after her husband and brother died. He confided in her that he could no longer tolerate the two brothers in power, and revealed his plan to overthrow them and seize the throne. The next day, Macrinus took Hanno to a governor's celebration, where he bet 2,000 dinars with a senator named Trax that Hanno would defeat one of his fighters. Trax agreed, and the arena was prepared for the fight. At the start of the battle, the emperor ordered the two fighters to fight with swords until one of them died, his strikes, but the fighter lifted him and threw him onto a table. Hanno quickly gets up and in a split second grabs the sword and kills him to end the match. Dracos couldn't believe he lost the bet. The emperor, Gaida, stood up, proud of himself, to congratulate Hanno. He said to him, "Tell me about your homeland and your name." But Hanno didn't respond. Before the emperor could get angry, Macrinus intervened and told him that Hanno only spoke his native language and wouldn't understand him. But then Hanno surprised them by reciting a Roman verse, delighting the emperor and everyone with his poetry. The emperor then asked Macrinus to ensure his fighter competes in the Colosseum. Later, Macrinus visited Hanno while he was resting to give him 2 gold coins as a reward. He asked him where he learned Roman poetry. Hanno replied that a Roman soldier, who was once a prisoner in their castle, taught him the poetry while Hanno was guarding him. Macrinus didn't fully believe him but said, "All right," and left. That night, a messenger went to the secret headquarters of the Senate to plan their coup against Rome's rulers. The general told them that his army of 5,000 soldiers would attack Rome on the last day of the games, paving the way for the Senate to take control of Rome. But Senator Serax objected, saying the plan was filled with risks. Acacius assured them that if their plan succeeded, Rome would fall under the Senate's administration, convincing the Senate to agree to the coup. The next day, Macrinus took his fighters to the Colosseum for another match. The Emperor Gaida and his brother Gragal were there, welcoming the people. As the match began, all the gladiators entered the arena, only to be shocked by their opponent entering on a giant rhinoceros. Hanno told the other gladiators, "We must work together to win this fight." Suddenly, the opponent launched a fierce attack, managing to take one of them down. When one man tried to escape, the opponent threw a rope, catching his leg and pulling him to the ground. The rhinoceros then charged at him with full force, slamming him into the wall and killing him. Hanno, enraged, threw his sword to the ground, grabbed the dirt with his hands, and began smelling it. At that moment, Lucilla remembered Maximus, who used to do the same gesture before any battle. Hanno waited for the opponent to charge at him with the rhinoceros. At the last moment, he threw dirt into the opponent's eyes and jumped out of the way. The rhinoceros crashed into the wall, and the opponent riding it fell to the ground. The crowd was in disbelief and began cheering for Hanno. The opponent attacked Hanno with a sword, leading to a fierce duel. Gaida asked his brother, "Isn't this the poet fighter?" His brother replied, "Honestly, I don't remember. I was drunk." They recalled the verse Hanno recited, and as soon as Lucilla heard it, she completed it herself. The only one who noticed her was Macrinus, who began to suspect a connection between her and Hanno. At that moment, the opponent seemed much stronger than Hanno, knocking him to the ground. But Hanno didn't give up. Before the opponent could kill him, Hanno leaped, grabbed a sword, and stabbed him in the chest. In a split second, he decapitated the opponent in front of everyone. With confidence, Hanno left the arena as the crowd celebrated wildly. After the battle, Lucilla returned home and entered a room where the Roman verse she heard was written on the wall. She began reminiscing about her husband, Maximus, and the day he died in battle battle after killing the Emperor Commodus. Before Maximus died, he asked her about their son, and she told him he was safe. To protect him from those who might try to kill him as the rightful heir to Rome, she decided to hide him until he grew up and could reclaim Rome. Meanwhile, an elderly man treated Hanno's wounds and revealed that he was once a gladiator like him. After earning his freedom, he chose to heal warriors' wounds instead of causing them. From that moment, Hanno and the healer became close friends. The next day, Lucilla requested a meeting with Macrinus. She asked him where he found his gladiators. He explained that all his fighters were either vagrants or prisoners of war. Because Macrinus was suspicious, he asked her why she was curious. She casually replied, "Just curious." Before leaving, Macrinus noticed a statue in her home. He asked who it was of, and she replied that it was her father when he was young. Macrinus noticed the striking resemblance between the statue and Hanno, growing more suspicious. He invited a senator friend to his home and got him drunk to learn more about Lucilla's story. The senator revealed that Lucilla once had a son whom she hid long ago. He was supposed to be alive, but she didn't know anything about him. The child's real father was Rome's greatest general, Maximus. Meanwhile, Lucilla went to the prison to meet Hanno and revealed to him that she was his mother and that his real father was the legendary warrior, Maximus. She told him his real name was Lucius. Hanno replied, "I don't know who you're talking about. My name is Hanno, and I have a wife named Arisha. But thanks to your husband, my wife was killed by his hands. I won't rest until I take him down." When Lucilla began crying, he told her he remembered her well and knew she was his mother, but he said her son had died long ago when she abandoned him as a child. She tried to justify her actions, but Hanno shouted at her in a terrifying manner and sent her out of the cell. Lucilla returned home quickly and told her husband, Acacius, that the gladiator Hanno was her real son. She said she wasn't ready to lose him again and begged Acacius to save him before the next day's match so he wouldn't die. Unfortunately, a servant overheard their conversation without them noticing. The next morning, Hanno and his team were training together. At that moment, Macrinus's assistant, Vigo, came to mock Hanno's strength. Hanno taunted him back and said, "This task is very easy and I could do it alone." Vigo replied, "If it's so easy, then do it alone and show us your strength." Hanno's team stepped aside, leaving him to row alone for a long time until he was exhausted and his hands were injured. The healer came to treat his hands and advised him to rest, as the next day would be very challenging and he would need all his strength. The following day, the arena was flooded with water and filled with hungry sharks. Hanno and his team entered the arena on a ship, with Hanno taking command. He instructed his team to follow his orders precisely. The battle began against a Roman ship that was much larger and more advanced than theirs. The Roman soldiers started shooting flaming arrows at them, burning their sail. Anyone who fell into the water was attacked and eaten by sharks. But with a clever move by Hanno, he directed his men to bring their ship closer to the enemy vessel. The ship's direction changed at the last moment, breaking all their oars. Macrinus was thrilled and impressed by the critical maneuver. Immediately, Hanno ordered his men to turn the ship quickly and rammed the bow of his ship into the enemy's vessel, breaking it apart. In a matter of seconds, Hanno and his men attacked, killing many Roman soldiers and throwing them to the sharks. Suddenly, in the midst of the battle, Hanno grabbed a bow and was about to strike Acacius, but the ship moved unexpectedly and the arrow accidentally grazed the emperor's head. Chaos ensued, and all the emperors fled the scene immediately, unsure who had fired the arrow. Later, the winners of the match were announced, and Macrinus's assistant came asking who fired the arrow. To his surprise, all the fighters claimed responsibility simultaneously. At that moment, Lucilla's servant went to a member of the People's Council, Trax, and revealed everything she overheard about their plan. At the same time, Macrinus approached him to take his house, saying, "You lost every match against me, and your debts have piled up. In short, I'll take your house. If you want to consider your debts paid, I have one condition: your loyalty and the whole truth." Trax immediately confessed there was a conspiracy to overthrow the emperor and that Hanno planned to escape from the city that night. However, he didn't know why. Macrinus replied, "I know why," and left. That night, Acacius went with a group of soldiers to the prison to help Hanno escape. Meanwhile, the emperor's guards went to Lucilla's house and told her the emperor wanted to see her immediately. Acacius was ambushed by the emperor's guards. His soldiers were killed, and he was captured. When Acacius and Lucilla were brought before the emperor, he screamed at them, saying, "Thanks to Macrinus and Trax, we discovered your betrayal before it was carried out." Macrinus then told the emperor, "The traitor must die, but let the gods decide his fate in the arena." The emperor thanked Macrinus, saying, "Because of you, I uncovered the conspiracy. You are now my trusted confidant." The next day, Lucilla was tied to a chair to watch her punishment as Acacius faced death in the arena. The people learned of their betrayal against Rome and their attempt to rebel against the rule. Acacius fought 4 strong fighters in the arena, surprising everyone by defeating them one by one with great skill. After he eliminated them all, Lucilla was overjoyed to see her husband alive, but she was shocked to learn there was another match about to begin, where her son, Hanno, would fight her husband Acacius. Knowing Hanno sought revenge for his wife against Acacius, she was terrified. As Acacius tried to reason with Hanno, Hanno attacked fiercely, and a brutal fight ensued. Even though Acacius lost his sword, he managed to block all of Hanno's strikes skillfully. Lucilla watched in horror as her husband and son went to kill each other, fearing she would lose one of them. Hanno urged Acacius a raccogliere la sua spada e attaccarono di nuovo. But as a seasoned warrior, Acacius overpowered Hanno, knocking him to the ground. Refusing to kill him, Acacius threw his sword to the ground and surrendered, saying he was merely a loyal soldier of Rome, following the ruler's orders. He revealed he had been a friend of Hanno's father, Maximus, and married Lucilla after his death to protect her. The emperor was displeased by this and ordered Hanno to kill Acacius. However, Hanno surprised everyone by throwing his sword to the ground as well and sitting in front of Acacius, refusing to kill him. Lucilla was overjoyed to see they didn't want to kill each other, but the emperor, enraged, ordered his soldiers to shoot Acacius with arrows until he died honorably in front of Hanno and his wife. Lucilla wept over him in disbelief. Hanno, furious, addressed the people of Rome, saying, "Imagine Rome rewarding its soldiers like this. What will it do to you?" He left the arena, and the people of Rome revolted against the rulers, causing chaos everywhere. Macrinus urged the rulers to leave the area quickly to avoid harm, and they complied immediately. That night, Macrinus visited Hanno, saying, "I kept my promise and brought you his head. I want to understand why you didn't kill him." Hanno replied, "I am free to make my own decisions. I am not your servant to carry out your orders." Macrinus laughed and said, "This is what the people here believe. Whether you like it or not, you will remain a servant." Hanno responded, "I will not be a tool to fulfill your ambitions now or in the future." Angered, Macrinus said, "We'll see," and left. Meanwhile, the people staged a revolt outside the emperor's palace over Acacius's death. Inside the palace, Geta, fearing the people's wrath, argued with his brother. Macrinus seized the opportunity to provoke both brothers against each other, convincing each that the other wanted to steal the throne. Eventually, one brother tried to kill the other, only to be told, "I'm trying to protect you," as he threw the knife away. He asked Macrinus to pull him away, but Macrinus took advantage of the situation, grabbed his brother's hand, and stabbed him in the neck several times until he died. The next day, Lucilla secretly visited Hanno in his cell, giving him Maximus's ring and revealing that Acacius had planned a coup against the emperor before his death. He had prepared his army to attack Rome. She told Hanno it was now his turn to reclaim his rightful place as the future emperor of Rome. Hanno apologized for everything that had happened between them and promised her he would achieve freedom and victory for the people of Rome. Meanwhile, Gracchus held a Senate meeting as the new emperor, shocking everyone by announcing that he would appoint his landowner as the army commander and Macrinus as Rome's chief authority after him. Although the Senate was confused, Macrinus shocked them further by presenting the emperor's head, threatening them all that anyone who defied or betrayed him would meet the same fate as Emperor Geta. He asked who was with him, and the frightened Senate raised their hands in unison, declaring their support. In the prison, Hanno asked the doctor for a favor, giving him his father's ring and revealing that he was Rome's rightful ruler. He instructed the doctor to deliver the ring to the army commander, Darius, and request that Acacius's army defend Rome and restore his rightful place. Before leaving, Hanno took the keys to the prison and acted swiftly. The doctor hurried to the army's location and handed the ring to Darius, the one who, as soon as he sees the ring and understands the story from the doctor, moves quickly with the army to Rome. At that time, Vigo goes to Hanno and informs him that today will be his final battle. He tells him, "Show us your skill now. How will you save your mother Lucilla in the arena?" At that moment, Hanno realizes that Macrinus wants to kill his mother. He quickly attacks Vigo, who is surprised to find that Hanno has opened the cell door with the keys, and also freed all his warriors, who attacked the guards and finished them off in mere seconds. Hanno kills Vigo with the wooden sword he was given, then goes to his father Maximus's cell, takes his sword, and dons his armor to fight with it. When he enters the arena to save his mother's life, Varico is hiding, and his mother is tied to a cart. He is shocked to find that the fight is not fair, as he will face more than 40 soldiers alone. The moment he raises his sword, his entire team suddenly enters the arena, attacking the Roman soldiers, and a fierce battle erupts between them. Meanwhile, Macrinus's personal guard learns that Darius has entered Rome with an army of 5,000 soldiers. Macrinus quickly orders Rome's army to confront and kill them before they reach the city. On the other hand, Hanno and his men fight bravely and manage to eliminate all the soldiers. Macrinus grows worried when he sees the people quickly attacking his soldiers and throwing them off the stands. In haste, he kills the emperor to become the sole ruler of Rome. Hanno rushes to free his mother, but Macrinus sees them and throws a poisoned spear, hitting her in the chest and killing her in front of Hanno. Afterward, he takes his horse and flees the battlefield. But in his rage, Hanno mounts a horse and chases him down before he can escape. When Macrinus reaches the city gate, he finds Darius's army in front of him. As he turns back, he finds Hanno behind him and realizes he is surrounded from all sides. Hanno charges at him fiercely, knocking him off his horse. The two armies stand watching, waiting for one of them to lose. The battle between them is intense, with blows exchanged back and forth. Macrinus realizes that Hanno is stronger than him, so he throws dirt in his eyes and pushes him into the water. He takes advantage of the moment and stabs him in the stomach with a sword, but his father's armor protects him from all the strikes.